Today, we are zeroing in on Harvey Weinstein, the former Hollywood director known for his colossal impact on the film industry and his downfall as a convicted sexual abuser, has just seen his conviction overturned by New York's highest court. What led to this unprecedented legal twist? Stay tuned as we unpack the layers of controversy and legal maneuvering behind this jaw-dropping decision.
There continues to be vociferous reaction to the overturning of the New York sexual assault conviction of Harvey Weinstein. The disgraced movie producer remains in prison, while some of his 100 accusers say they're being assaulted all over again, this time by the courts.
So it is certainly the talk of the town. What happened in the Harvey Weinstein case and why was it overturned? Well, essentially, the trial court messed up by allowing witnesses who had nothing to do with this particular case to testify regardless.
The Court of Appeals ruled 4-3 yesterday that alleged victims who weren't involved in the charges against the disgraced Hollywood producer should not have been allowed to testify.
But in perhaps an ironic blow to the women's rights movement, it turns out that the people who overturned Harvey Weinstein's conviction are themselves women, including the lead author of the opinion, who herself is a woman.
You know, Justice Rivera, who wrote the decision, I mean, she's a huge women's rights advocate. I mean, she has been, that's her whole career. And, you know, some people may look at this and say, hey, you know what, how is she doing this to women? But to her credit, she took her oath of office, more important than her personal views.
When the court admitted the testimony of other women who were allegedly harmed by Harvey Weinstein, but not in connection to this particular case, the trial court erred by violating the rules by allowing other crimes to come in to prove the truth of this particular crime. In other words, they allowed bad character evidence in, which is a no-no under the rules of evidence.
So to bolster their case, prosecutors brought in additional witnesses. Women who had experienced terrible things at the hands of Weinstein gave searing testimony, but it was controversial legally because the classic rule of criminal court, of course, is that the evidence should only pertain to the acts that are under scrutiny in court.
The trial court mistakenly permitted testimony from other victims, including improper character evidence, to suggest the defendant's guilt through unrelated prior bad acts. The Court of Appeals upheld the legal principle that such evidence cannot be used solely to demonstrate a propensity for criminal behavior. The appellate court's decision was grounded in the notion that a defendant should be convicted based on evidence directly related to the specific crime charged, not past conduct.
Specifically, the witness who was making allegations that were not specific to the case, so that testimony, in theory, more prejudicial than it would be probative.
That is, it sounds, speaking like an attorney. I mean, when the judge decides what can come in, when you're talking about hearsay testimony or you're talking about testimony in general, the key factor is, does it add more probative or prejudicial value? And that has to be determined on the spot. And if the judge made a critical error, not a decision-making error, but an error that wasn't based in law, then that's normally when a judge's decision will get overturned on appeal.
The inclusion of testimony from other women who claim to have been assaulted by Weinstein on separate occasions violated the legal principle that forbids the use of character evidence to suggest propensity for criminal behavior. Typically, prior acts can only be introduced to contest a witness's testimony, and even this exception generally pertains only to past convictions. However, these particular rules were not relevant in Weinstein's case because he did not take the stand in his own defense. Amazingly, the judge had ruled that if Weinstein did choose to testify, additional prior bad acts stemming from other unproven allegations rather than convictions would be allowed into evidence, which was an improper application of that rule, also according to the highest court of New York.
The court also found that due to the judge's rulings, Weinstein himself was limited in his ability to take the stand.
The highest court of New York also ruled specifically that the trial court misapplied a famous precedent in New York called Molyneux, which does allow for prior acts to be offered insomuch as they can prove a specific signature or pattern, a specific MO. But here, the conduct was too attenuated from each other to form such a specific pattern as allowed by the precedent.
The two big points here: allowing the Molyneux witnesses in, allowing if Harvey Weinstein were to take the stand, then he would be confronted with a number of not even crimes, just a number of prior bad acts that have, in my opinion, nothing to do with the charges in this case. I was bothered by it, and instead I was not surprised that this has actually been an overturn of a conviction.
The highest court of New York therefore concluded that the offering of this testimony during the prosecution's case in chief was error, unduly prejudicing the defendant and requiring a retrial of all charges.
Quote, "It is an abuse of judicial discretion to permit untested allegations of nothing more than bad behavior that destroys a defendant's character, but sheds no light on their credibility as related to the criminal charges lodged against them," end quote.
So, what are your thoughts on New York's highest court delivering this split 4-3 decision? Do you side with the majority, believing the unrelated testimonies were too prejudicial, warranting a retrial? Or do you lean to the minority's view that the decision excessively protected a notorious figure? How do you think this impacts the Me Too movement and the standards of proof for future sexual assault cases? What is the right balance here? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's engage in this critical conversation. I'm Uncivil Law, and remember, there's much to learn from the misfortune of others. Catch you in the next video.